The unexpected gift asterisk. The human's escape pod fell from the sky like a burning comet, crashing deep into the red jungle of the alien world called Kurhal. Trees bent and snapped under the weight of the fireball, and smoke filled the air like a warning. Something had entered their sacred land, something not welcome, something different. Tyler groaned inside the twisted remains of his pod. His arm was bleeding, his head ached, and sparks flew from the broken control panel. The only thing he could hear was the soft hiss of cooling metal and his own heartbeat pounding. In his ears, he reached for the emergency pack, grabbed a small water pouch, and crawled out into the heat of the strange new world. The sky above him was purple, filled with twin suns. The air smelled sweet but sharp, and the ground pulsed with quiet vibrations. Everything here felt alive and watching. Tyler had trained for alien contact, but this planet was not on any of the approved maps. He was alone, or so he thought. She watched him from the trees, tall and graceful. Her body was covered in smooth, tiger-like stripes that glowed faintly in the shade. She had clawed feet, a long tail, and bright yellow eyes that studied him with careful curiosity. Her ears twitched as she listened to every step he took, every breath he made. When he bent down to examine his busted transmitter, she moved silently through the brush, closer. Her scent was masked by wild flowers and dust. She crouched behind a stone, eyes locked on the strange, soft-looking creature in front of her. Then she made a sound soft, sharp, like a laugh. Tyler spun around, his heart jumping into his throat. His hand reached for the emergency flare gun, but he froze when he saw her. The alien girl stood tall and proud, not afraid of him at all. She tilted her head and gave a sharp-toothed smile. Her voice was smooth but teasing, like she was already playing a game. "What else do you expect to receive from me, human?" she said, in strange but clear English. Tyler stared, trying to understand if she was a threat or a savior. Her body was strong and lean, built like a predator, but her tone was not angry, not violent. She stepped closer, arms folded, tail flicking slowly behind her. He backed away by instinct, but she only chuckled again. "I don't want your food," she said, sniffing the ration bar in his hand. "Smells like tree bark." He blinked, surprised. "You speak English?" She nodded. "We watch the stars. We listen to the machines you send. We learn. But no one ever comes here, not until you." Tyler tried to relax but kept his distance. "Do you have a name?" he asked. She touched her chest. "Sally, I'm Tyler," he said. She stepped forward again, slowly circling him. "You fell hard," she said. "Most would be dead. You are lucky you're stupid." "Maybe both," he replied, giving a weak smile. Sally's eyes flicked toward the smoke behind him. "Your fire calls hunters. If you stay here, you die." Tyler looked around, now truly afraid. "Hunters?" "Beasts," she said. "But also others. They will smell the crash. They will want your bones for their walls." Before he could reply, she grabbed his arm and pulled him toward the trees. "Come," she ordered. "If I leave you, you are meat." Despite the pain in his ribs, he followed. She was fast, agile, moving through the jungle like it was home. She didn't even glance back to see if he kept up. After a long walk, they reached a small hidden cave behind a waterfall. Her den inside, the walls were painted with glowing symbols, tribal drawings of battles, beasts, and stars. It was both beautiful and strange. She gave him water made from crushed fruit, and threw a blanket at him made from alien fur. Tyler sat down carefully, still overwhelmed. "Why are you helping me?" he asked. She crouched beside him, looking at him with that same teasing smile. "Because I'm bored," she said. "And you are interesting. And maybe I want to see if humans break easy." He didn't know if she was serious. Her voice was playful, but something about her eyes said she was always watching, always judging. "Do you usually take strangers into your home?" he asked. She laughed. "Only if they fall from the sky." Night fell quickly on Kurhal. The jungle grew louder, filled with howls and distant roars. Sele sat near the entrance of the cave, sharpening her claws with a curved bone. Tyler wrapped himself in the blanket, still unsure if she was a friend or a captor. Just before he drifted into sleep, she turned and said softly, "Don't try to run. The forest eats cowards." Then she looked at him again and added, "Sleep, human. Tomorrow we talk about what else you expect to receive from me." Tyler didn't know what that meant, but he felt, deep inside, this was only the beginning. Rules of the hunt *. Tyler woke to the sound of heavy breathing, not his own, but something large and close. His eyes opened wide, and he found Selly standing at the cave's entrance, her blade drawn, her tail stiff and twitching in warning. The jungle outside was silent, too silent, like the trees themselves were holding their breath. She didn't look at him, her voice calm and sharp. "Stay behind me, human." Something crashed in the underbrush outside. A deep snort followed by snarling. Then it stopped. Selly sniffed the air and made a low growl from her throat. "Scavengers," she said. "They smell the metal fire." Tyler barely had time to grab his boots before she leapt outside with a war cry. He ran after her, half stumbling, and saw her wrestling a beast, its fur dark and slick, jaws wide with teeth like knives. Selly moved like a blur, claws slashing, legs kicking. She wasn't just fast, she was trained. This was survival turned into an art. After minutes of chaos, the beast fled, bleeding. Selly returned to him, scratches across her arm and one on her cheek. She wiped the blood and grinned. "Now they know I protect my prize." Tyler didn't know what she meant by prize, but he didn't ask. Instead, he helped her clean the wound with a packet of disinfectant. She hissed but didn't pull away. He noticed her breathing slowed once his hand touched her skin. "Why do they care so much about me?" he asked. She looked at him for a long time, then said, "Because I made the claim." "What claim?" "That you are mine," she said casually, like it was a weather report. "Now I must defend you, unless I give you up." Tyler blinked. "Wait, you made me your property?" "No," she said, her voice now a little softer. "Not property. Claiming is more symbolic. You fell from the stars into my hunting zone. If I did not claim you, others would." He stared at her. "So you saved me by making me yours?" She nodded once. "And now I must prove you are worth it." They sat in silence for a while, Tyler processing what that meant. "So I'm a walking excuse for a fight," he muttered. Selly smirked. "Yes. But you walk well for one." That day she took him into the jungle, showing him how to avoid leaving scent trails, how to walk without making noise, and how to recognize the warning calls of the local birds. Tyler was clumsy, but he learned fast, and every time he got something right, Selly gave a small approving nod, silent praise that meant more than words. She handed him a small curved dagger carved from bone. "Don't show your fear," she said. "Here, fear calls teeth." As the sun dipped, they returned to camp, only to find it wasn't empty. 3 alien figures stood by the waterfall, tall, armored, and armed. Their eyes narrowed when they saw Tyler. One of them stepped forward, a female with darker stripes than Selly's and a jagged scar across her chest. "Is this the one?" she asked Selly, voice cold. "Yes," Selly replied without emotion. "You dishonor your blood," the rival hissed. "Taking a male from another world into your claim?" "Weakness." Tyler stood behind Selly, confused but feeling the danger thicken around them like fog. The rival's hand hovered near her blade, daring Selly to speak the wrong word. Selly didn't flinch. "I make my choices, Vekra." The one named Vekra stepped closer, looking Tyler up and down with disgust. "He should be given to the elders or fed to the trials." "No," Selly said firmly. "He is under my blade." The tension snapped like a stretched rope. Vekra lunged forward with a claw raised. But Selly was faster. In a flash, she had her blade at Vekra's throat, her voice low and deadly. "Test me again, and you won't walk back to your nest." Vekra sneered, but slowly stepped back. "This isn't over, Selly. The tribe watches." When they were gone, Tyler exhaled deeply. "What was that?" Selly sat down on a rock and wiped her blade. Politics, he chuckled nervously. Your politics involve a lot of stabbing. Better than lies, she replied. That night, Selai told him more. You were not supposed to live, she said. The others expected you to die in the jungle, or be given to the elders for questioning. I changed the rules when I claimed you. Why would you do that? He asked. She didn't answer at first, then looked at him under the moonlight. Because you fell where I was hunting, because you looked at me with fear, but not hate, and maybe because I wanted something different. Tyler lay back on the fur blanket, staring at the alien stars. His life was no longer his own. He belonged to a girl with claws and a smirk, a girl who had just risked everything by saying he was hers. He didn't know where it would lead, but as Selai curled her tail beside the fire and said nothing more, he realized one thing clearly. She had chosen him, and now the whole jungle wanted to know why. A game of fire and teeth asterisk. The morning light on Kurhal was orange and thick, like smoke poured across the sky. Tyler stood at the edge of the waterfall, watching mist roll through the trees like ghosts. He was sore, scratched, and hungry, but his mind wasn't on survival anymore. It was on the girl sharpening her blade behind him. Selai was crouched low, moving her tail in slow circles as she ground her claw against a rock. She wasn't smiling today. Her eyes were locked on the path, her ears twitching at every sound. The jungle felt colder even with the sun. Today we train, she said finally. Or you die. Tyler swallowed hard. That's a strong way to say good morning. She tossed him a curved bone dagger, the same one she had let him borrow before. I won't always be there to fight for you. The jungle tests what it wants to keep. He followed her through dense brush, their steps quiet, their bodies low. She moved like water, flowing between roots and stones. While Tyler stumbled but tried to copy her rhythm, Selai stopped at a circle of claw marks etched into the ground. Trial zone, she whispered. The old ones say spirits live here. I don't believe in ghosts, Tyler muttered, then tripped over a vine and hit the dirt. Selai didn't laugh, but her eyes sparkled. Then believe in your legs. She taught him how to step lightly, how to press his feet into the ground without snapping leaves, how to listen for warning birds instead of looking with his eyes. Every little trick felt like a secret from an ancient world, a place that wanted him gone unless he earned his right to exist. They stalked a small beast together, one with glowing skin and two tails. Selai guided him silently, using only hand signs and eye movements. When it bolted, Tyler panicked and threw his blade, missing by a foot. Your fear throws your aim, she said, pulling him back behind a stone. They sat there for a while, breathless, and Tyler finally asked, Why are you teaching me this? Selai looked away and said quietly, Because if I don't, they'll kill you. She didn't need to explain who they were, the tribe, the rivals, the elders who whispered behind her back. Tyler was a challenge to them, a human who disrupted their laws just by breathing. But Selai didn't treat him like a problem. She treated him like a gamble she wasn't ready to lose. That night, they returned to camp and shared dried meat Selai had saved from her last hunt. Tyler offered her one of his energy bars, and she took it with her claws carefully, sniffed it, then made a face. This smells like melted cave rock, he smiled. It's chocolate. She took a bite and chewed slowly, face unreadable. Then she nodded once, acceptable, after eating. Tyler showed her his old music player, a solar-powered relic from Earth. He played a slow song, something with violins and soft humming. Selai sat very still, her ears folding back, her eyes far away. When the song ended, she didn't say anything for a moment, then whispered, Your world sounds lonely. Tyler stared at her, surprised. Yeah, he said. Sometimes. She stood and walked to the mouth of the cave, her voice low. Ours is loud, but full of silence. He didn't know what that meant, but he understood the feeling. Selai was always sharp, always in control. But tonight she looked softer, like something in the music had scratched her armor. Suddenly, a growl echoed outside the cave. Selai stiffened. And in one motion she grabbed her blade and pulled Tyler back into the shadows. "Someone followed us," she said, her voice no longer soft. Two shadows crept into the clearing. One of them was Vecra, the same rival with the scar across her chest. The other was a male, older, his body covered in painted bones. They weren't here to talk. Vecra's voice cut through the dark. "Your human brings weakness to this land. Prove he is worth your blood, or surrender him." Selai stepped into the moonlight, blade drawn. "Then come take him." Vecra roared and charged, and in the blink of an eye, Selai met her in a clash of claws and screams. Tyler watched in frozen shock as the two warriors danced in a brutal rhythm. Their blades flashed, blood sprayed, and still they moved neither. Giving ground, Selai was faster, but Vecra was stronger. When Selai stumbled, the older male stepped forward, but Tyler didn't let him. He grabbed a hot rock from the fire pit and hurled it at the intruder's leg. The man cried out and fell back, giving Selai the moment she needed. She slashed upward across Vecra's shoulder, sending her spinning to the ground. Selai stood over her, breathing hard. "Touch him again." "And I won't stop at your shoulder," Vecra hissed and limped away, dragging her companion with her. When they were gone, Tyler stared at his own hands. Still trembling, Selai turned to him, chest heaving, blood on her face and arms. "You moved," she said quietly. "You fought." Tyler nodded slowly. "I didn't know what else to do." She walked to him and touched his chest with 2 fingers. "Then maybe you're not as soft as you look." That night, neither of them slept easily, but under the alien sky, they both knew something had changed between them. The touch of trust *. Tyler opened his eyes to find Selai already awake. Kneeling by the fire, her blade rested on her knees, untouched. Her gaze was not on the jungle or the sky, but on him, watching with a strange quietness. There was no teasing in her eyes this morning, no smirk playing at her lips. The wounds from last night were red and swollen. Dark blood crusted over the cuts on her arm and neck. Tyler sat up slowly, reached into his emergency kit, and pulled out the antiseptic spray. "Let me clean that," he said, voice soft. "It'll get infected." Selai's ears twitched, but she didn't move. "It will heal," she replied flatly. "Pain is part of standing your ground." He scooted closer anyway, gently raising her arm. She let him touch her skin slow, careful, almost curious. As he sprayed the wound, she flinched, claws digging into the dirt, but she didn't pull away. The moment stretched, quiet and fragile like a breath held too long. "You don't trust easily," he said. "No," she answered, not meeting his eyes. "Not even my own blood." He wrapped the gauze over the cut, his fingers brushing hers by accident. Her skin was warm and slightly rough like leather, but soft under the heat. Selai looked up, and for a second, Tyler saw something new. In her, something that wasn't war or instinct or pride. "Why did you help me?" he asked again, this time not as a survivor, but as a man looking for truth. Selai didn't smile, didn't tease. She stared at the fire, her voice low and raw. "Because I've been alone too long." That night, she told him about the one she once trusted, a mate chosen for her during the last bonding season. A warrior like her, strong and brutal. But he wanted power more than connection. He tried to control her, and when she refused, he challenged her publicly. She beat him, but lost the tribe's approval. "They called me dangerous," she said. "Untamable, unworthy of the claim." "But you fought back," Tyler said. "You didn't let them choose for you." She nodded slowly. "Now they say I'm cursed, that no bond will ever take root in me again." Tyler shook his head. "Maybe they're scared of someone who doesn't break." Her eyes flicked to his face, unreadable at first, then softer. She reached out and touched his chest lightly with her fingers, tracing the fabric of his shirt. "You're the first who touched me without trying to own me." Silence returned between them, but it wasn't awkward. The air between them felt warmer now, slower, like something ancient had started to settle into place. When she finally stood, she didn't look away this time. "Tomorrow, the trial begins," she said. "You must be ready." "What kind of trial?" Tyler asked, unsure whether she meant combat or ceremony or something in between. She turned toward the jungle, her silhouette glowing under the alien moonlight, the kind that shows who is worth keeping alive. The next day, they traveled toward the sacred grounds where the trial would take place. The trees were taller here, the air heavier, marked with symbols carved deep into stone pillars. The path was lined with bones old and cracked, left as warnings or reminders. At the gate, an elder with a silver-marked face looked at Sci-fi, then at Tyler. "You bring a human," he said, not hiding the disgust in his voice. "Does he even know what this means?" "He knows enough," Sci-fi replied coldly. "He's not here to be your entertainment. He's mine to test." They were allowed to pass deeper into the forest, until they reached a clearing lit by glowing flowers. It was beautiful, until Tyler saw the wide stone circle in the center, cracked and stained. Sci-fi pulled him to a stop, placing her hand over his chest again. "This trial is not about strength," she whispered. "It's about bond," Tyler nodded, not fully understanding, but trusting her anyway. "Then let's show them what bond looks like." Sci-fi's eyes widened slightly, and for the first time, she didn't have a clever answer ready. Instead, she smiled, a real one, small and honest. "Don't make me regret saving you," she said quietly. He grinned. "Only if you stop saving me after this." The drums began to beat from far away, echoing through the trees like the heart of the planet itself. The trial had begun, and all of Kurhal was watching. The trial begins. The jungle did not speak, but it listened. Trees stood tall like stone giants, and glowing eyes peeked from every shadow. Tyler stood beside Sci-fi at the edge of the sacred trial ring, heart pounding. He had never felt smaller. Then in that moment, the air was thick with smoke and flower scents. Drums beat from unseen hands, and the stone elders circled high above in branches carved with ritual runes. Their eyes glowed faintly in the canopy light, silent and cold. This was not a place for mercy. Sci-fi stepped forward, lifting her blade and drawing a slash across her own palm. She let the blood drip onto the trial stone, her voice loud. "I offer my bond, my blade, my right." The elders nodded slowly, then turned their eyes to Tyler. "And the human?" One asked, "Does he bleed for this choice?" Tyler stepped forward without hesitation. He didn't have claws or glowing eyes, just an old utility knife and shaking hands, but he mirrored her move, cutting a shallow line across his palm and letting the blood fall beside hers. "I do," he said, voice steady despite the tremble in his chest. A distant roar echoed from beyond the trees, and the trial gate opened. It revealed a path of twisted roots and black mist. The ground shimmered with heat, even though there was no sun. Sci-fi looked at him once, no words, just a nod, and they entered side by side. The first test came quickly. A sharp cliff blocked their path, and from below, black spines rattled like bones. The only way forward was up. Tyler looked at Sci-fi, expecting her to leap like always. But instead, she crouched and laced her fingers together. He blinked. "You're boosting me?" "You climb," she said. "I follow." Tyler placed his foot into her hands, and she lifted him high. He scrambled up the stone wall, scraping his arms and knees but pulling himself over. At the top, he reached down and caught her wrist as she leapt. The force nearly pulled him back, but he gritted his teeth and held on. Together, they rose over the edge, breathing hard. Sci-fi looked at him strangely, not like a warrior, but like a woman seeing something unexpected. "You held me," she said. "I said I wouldn't let go," he answered. They pressed on, deeper, into the trial forest. The trees grew wider, their roots forming bridges over boiling mud. Sounds echoed from every side, whispers, clicks, the scream of distant beasts. Sci-fi stopped suddenly, sniffing the air. "They're near," she said. "Who?" Tyler asked, knife ready in hand. She turned slowly, her ears sharp. "Not beasts," she said. "The ones who want me to fail." Before she finished speaking, shadows burst from the trees. 2 tribal hunters, marked with bone paint and hatred. They charged with curved spears. Not as part of the trial, but to end it. Tyler dodged the first spear and swung his knife, slashing the attacker's leg. Selai blocked the second with her own body, then slammed her elbow into the hunter's throat. Blood splashed across the leaves, and both attackers fell groaning. One tried to crawl away, but Selai kicked him down. "This was meant to be sacred," she growled, "and you turned it into blood sport." The elders above remained silent, neither stopping nor helping. Tyler looked up in anger. "They knew," he said. "They sent them on purpose." "Yes," Selai answered, wiping her blade, "to see if we'd break." Tyler's hands were red, his arms bruised, but he nodded. "Then we don't." They moved on, each step a promise not to fall. At last they reached the final circle, a clearing with no light, only flickering fireflies and a mirror pool in the center. Selai walked to the water and dipped her fingers inside. "This is the bond," she said, "the truth part." He joined her, kneeling at her side. "What do I do?" "You speak what you fear," she said. "You show who you are. If you lie, the water turns black." Tyler stared into the rippling pool, his reflection shaking. "I fear being useless," he said, "being forgotten, or worse, being the reason someone else gets hurt." The water glowed gently, clear and blue. Selai placed her hand over his, her claws resting gently. "I fear I am too broken to be chosen again." The water shimmered, glowing brighter than before. Then stilled, a deep hum spread through the air, and the trees above fell silent. The trial was done. The elders stepped down from the branches, old and cold-eyed. "The bond is real," one said. "The claim stands," but a voice broke through. The hush, low and bitter, Vecra emerged from the side. Blood still dried on her shoulder. "Then I challenge it," she snarled. "Let the human stand without her, and see if he survives." Tyler stood as the crowd circled in. His eyes didn't leave Selai's, and hers didn't blink. Neither of them spoke, because they both knew what came next. Her choice, his voice asterisk. Vecra stepped into the ring with murder in her eyes. Her blade was longer than Selai's and curved like a serpent fang. Her armor was made of bone and iron, painted in dark green streaks that marked her as a former blood claim. Victor, she was not here to argue, she was here to end it. Tyler took a step forward. But Selai held out her arm. "This is my fight," she said firmly. "If I fall, your bond falls with me." "No," Tyler whispered. "Let me fight beside you." Selai shook her head once, a slight smile touching her lips. "You already did more than I expected, human," she said. "Let me show them what you gave me." The elders raised their hands, marking the beginning of the final combat. The crowd held its breath as the two alien women circled each other on the sacred ground. Their feet scraped over stone, and their eyes locked like wolves before the first strike. Vecra attacked first, swinging her blade in a wide arc meant to break Selai's balance. But Selai ducked under, rolled, and countered with a slash across the thigh. Vecra snarled in pain but didn't stop. She moved like fire, furious and fast, forcing Selai to retreat step by step. The crowd roared as blades clashed again, sparks flying from stone and steel. Selai gritted her teeth, blood on her forehead. Her movements were slowing, her leg was wounded, and Vecra saw the weakness. "She fights for a weak thing," Vecra shouted. "A human with no claws, no tribe, no name." Tyler clenched his fists, heart racing. He couldn't move, but his voice could reach her. "Selai!" He yelled, "You're not alone." Selai's eyes locked with his, and something inside her shifted. Her grip tightened, her back straightened, and then she charged, not with fear, but fury, a blur of movement, a twist of the wrist, and Vecra's blade flew from her hands. The crowd gasped as Selai knocked Vecra down and placed the tip of her blade at her throat. She could have killed her, but she didn't. Instead, she looked up at the elders, blood running down her cheek. "This is my bond," she said, voice clear. "And I will protect it, even from my own." The oldest elder stepped forward slowly, his voice like stone sliding through sand. "The challenge is over. he said. Let her claim stand. The crowd lowered their heads. Not in shame, but in respect. Vecra was dragged away silently, defeated and silent. Selai stood still, breathing hard, then finally let her blade fall from her hand. Tyler ran to her, grabbing her shoulders. You're bleeding, he said, his voice shaking. So are you. She replied with a faint smirk, then rested her forehead gently against his. They returned to the cave later that evening, firelight dancing across the walls. Selai lay beside him, her arm bandaged, her hair loose for the first time. It fell in waves over her shoulder, soft and glowing. She placed a small carved stone in his hand, a charm shaped like her tribe's mark. This is proof, she whispered, that you belong not just here but with me. Tyler turned it over in his fingers, holding it like something sacred. So, what else do you expect me to receive from you? He asked quietly, smiling. Selai's lips curved into a teasing grin. Just like the first day. That depends, she said. How long do you plan on staying? He looked at her, really looked, and knew the answer wasn't in the stars or any Earth signal waiting for him. It was in the bond that they had fought for, bled for, and earned. As long as you'll have me, he answered. What else do you expect from me, human? The jungle had changed, or maybe it was Tyler who had. He no longer flinched at the growls in the night or hesitated at the edge of cliffs. The wind no longer sounded like threats, it sounded like home. Days had passed since the trial ended, since Selai stood bloodied before her tribe and claimed him without fear. Tyler now walked through the village with the carved bondstone around his neck. No one challenged him anymore. Elders nodded as he passed. Hunters gave short, respectful grunts, and younglings whispered about the human who made her smile. But Tyler never let it get to his head. He knew it wasn't just his story. It was Selai's choice that had changed everything. She watched from the ledge above the camp, crouched on stone with the wind brushing through her long black hair. Her blade rested across her lap, but she hadn't needed to use it since the trial. Not once. Tyler climbed up to her spot and sat beside her, legs dangling over the edge. They watched two moons rising together, casting silver light across the jungle. This planet is beautiful, he said, and terrifying. Selai smirked. That's the right way to see it. He glanced at her, then held up the bondstone again. You never told me what this actually means. Back on your world, she turned her eyes to him, thoughtful. It means I share everything with you, my food, my shelter, my battles. Tyler nodded slowly, then chuckled. You forgot your sarcasm. Selai grinned, showing a flash of teeth. That too. Silence passed between them like a warm breeze. Tyler reached over and touched her hand gently. She didn't pull away. Instead, she shifted slightly, letting her fingers rest on his without armor or claws between them. You still think I'm soft? He asked. She raised an eyebrow. You are, she said, but not weak. There's a difference. He leaned back on his arms, eyes tracing stars above. So what happens now? I stay here forever? Selai didn't answer at first. Instead, she leaned forward, watching the trees below. Her voice was low. You don't belong to this world, but you belong to me. That's different. He turned toward her, heart loud in his chest. And if Earth comes looking? She looked at him sharply. Then they'll have to ask me first. Tyler laughed, full and free. You really like control, don't you? No, she said, slowly crawling closer until their faces were only inches apart. I like certainty. She pressed her forehead gently to his again, just like she had after the trial, only this time she closed her eyes and let out a quiet breath, as if releasing something that had weighed her for too long. Tell me something true, human, she whispered. Tyler paused, then answered. I'd go back to Earth only to bring you with me. Selai blinked slowly, then leaned even closer, brushing her lips against his jaw. Not a kiss, but something like a promise. When she pulled back, her voice returned to its teasing tone, the one that started it all. So, what else do you expect to receive from me, human? Tyler didn't smirk this time. He looked into her glowing eyes and said the only thing that mattered. "Nothing more, Selai, just you." She smiled softly, and for the first time in her life, Selai of the claw-marked bloodline felt whole.